believe that writing the first draft of your novel was the hardest part of your journey, that only means that you haven't started editing yet. Writing your first draft is tough. I agree, it is super tough. But editing the first draft can be a nightmare. While you're writing, you tend to pour out your heart into the piece of work that you're doing. You're writing with stream of consciousness and you're not thinking a lot about what you're writing. But while you're editing, you're supposed to be practically, objectively thinking about what you've written and what should be allowed to be there in that piece of work and what you need to remove, how you need to alter it. Basically, you need to rattle your brains with the idea of editing the work. This is one of the reasons why writers hire professional editors and why every writer should be hiring a professional editor. However, a first draft can feel too vulnerable for an author, for a writer to send out to an editor. But you need to have a certain level of confidence before you can stand up for your own work, send it out to editors and publishers. And for that, the self-editing process for novels is super important. Hence, in this video, I'm going to teach you my self-editing steps that I have amalgamated as a writer/editor. Let's get started. Step number 1 is to detach yourself from the novel. While you're writing your first draft, writers tend to pour out their heart onto the page, as I mentioned earlier, and this makes them emotionally connected with the piece of work. And while you're still emotionally connected to this piece of work, you'll never be able to objectively think about it. Hence, I suggest storing away this piece of work for about 3 to 6 months and allow yourself to breathe in a fresh space before you return to your work. This distance, this time and distance will put enough space between you and the work and the novel so that you're able to transform from the writer to the editor who is practical and objective while looking at the work again. And even if you're not an emotional person, this trick will still do wonders for you, because when you return to this piece of work, you will be able to look at it in a very different, fresh perspective, in a very different light. You won't be able to understand that until you've experienced it yourself. So please try this method out and you'll see what I mean. But wait, while you're adding this distance between yourself and the novel, what are you going to do in the meanwhile? Well, you can go on a holiday, but your work is not going on a holiday. Your work can be sent out to beta readers. Beta readers are test readers who read your work while it is still in the process stage. I've also talked about them in another video, I guess. I think this one, I'll link it up here. But essentially what beta readers do is to provide you with a lot of feedback, specifically related to plot, story, characterization, and the major elements in your world, in the world that you've created in your story. Since this is a first draft, you should mention to your beta reader that you are specifically looking for major plot issues. These are the things that cannot be changed later on in the story while you have sent it out to a professional editor. Those things cannot be changed. And while we are talking about it, I must mention that getting feedback, especially negative feedback about your work, your first draft, can be super overwhelming. It can be intensely overwhelming. And that is why next week I'm doing a video all about incorporating feedback from beta readers. This video will talk about a special feedback mechanism that I use in my own system. So if you want to know how to incorporate all feedback into your first draft and change it into something amazing, make sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Moving on to step 3, which is make a plot chart. This step occurs after you've received feedback from your beta readers, after you have incorporated that feedback, the process which I'll explain in the next video. So after you have done those things, this is what you're going to do next, which is to make a plot chart. What is a plot chart, you may ask? Well, plot chart is a term that I made up myself for this one little exercise that I saw my first editor, the editor of my first novel. I saw her performing this little exercise when we first met, and I thought it was an amazing tool to help me out. She took a piece of paper and on that, in about 15 to 16 bullet points, she summarized the entire story. She summarized the events as they happen, the major events that take place. You need to write that down one by one. Try to make it as short as possible, but what you're really looking at over here is trying to point out each plot point, each little event that happens in your story. Write it down, see how that looks. The aim of this plot chart is to identify filler scenes. Filler scenes are scenes that you just tend to add over there to have some kind of space. Because while you're writing your first draft, you may be in a space where you really like a character, so you want that character to be on page more. You just add a scene with them, and that scene has nothing to do with the plot. That scene has nothing to add to the story, and you don't realize that. So making a plot chart will help you identify all those filler scenes, and it will also help you to make sure that the pacing of the novel is on point. It will help you make sure that certain scenes are not running too fast or certain scenes are not dragging the story. After you've made your plot chart, then you move on to step 4, which is make a list of questions, open questions. These are the questions that you are opening for your reader with each scene. So go through your novel scene by scene, and after every scene, write down on a piece of paper what is the question that you're opening for the reader. So you need to understand all the questions that you have been opening with each scene, and along with that, make a list of the places where you have answered each of those questions. For example, in scene 1, if you open a question, where are you answering it? Are you answering it in somewhere in chapter 4 or chapter 5? Just make a list of that. Keep a track of that. This method, for one, will ensure that you have answered all the questions by the end of the book, and it will ensure that you have answered those questions in the right places for the most impact on reader. And most importantly, this will aid you in identifying step 5, which is identifying plot loopholes. Need I say anything more? If you're a reader yourself, I'm sure you understand how painful it is to find a book that you started enjoying and then finding a loophole in it. It just takes all the fun out of the book. You know why? Because that makes the book unbelievable in a very painful way. What I mean by that is the author's job is to make you believe that the story is real. But when loopholes arise, you start doubting it. You don't believe it anymore as a reader. That's why loopholes are the biggest spoil spots of any book, any reading experience or movie watching experience. As a writer, loopholes can be embarrassing. So when that happens, writers start thinking that maybe I'm not a good writer. That's not true. Having a loophole in a story does not mean that you suck at writing. It only means that you're not paying enough attention during editing. Always remember that editing is a part of writing only. It's a part of the storytelling process. So never assume that if you're not able to get something completely right on the first attempt, you won't get it during the editing process. Because trust me, bestsellers are made only after they've been edited like 100 times. So far I've revealed 5 super useful tips, and if you found them useful as well, please smash the like button. That really helps to support the channel. Moving on to my tip number 6, which is focus on characterization. Out of all the writing advice available to you out there, if I had to give you only one of them, I would say that characters are the driving force of your story. If you don't have convincing characters, you don't have a convincing story. So while you're revising your first draft, pay very special attention to how your characters appear in the story. Do they seem too perfect? Or does your protagonist feel the same way as their own sidekick? Is the character distinction clear enough for them to be real people? Are your characters staying consistent throughout the novel? Is the character arc believable enough? Those are some questions you should be asking yourself while you're working on a first draft and looking at characterization. And I know, it feels overwhelming. It feels intensely overwhelming. It does to me, at least, when I'm looking at my characters from a different point of view, trying to make out if they're real people or not. And for that, I have my next tip, which is the golden nugget of all tips today, and that is to read your story aloud. This is my favorite trick of all times, and the one that I use every time, be it my own novel or my clients' books that I'm editing. As readers, writers, editors, we are so accustomed to seeing things on a page, to reading from a screen, or always getting the words mentally registered in our heads. We never listen how it sounds. There is a reason why the term is called storytelling. Because if somebody is telling the story, then there are people who are listening to it. When you read something, you're also subconsciously listening to it. And this is one feature, one psychological element that we as editors and writers turned editors need to use in order to make sure that the story is worth telling. My next step is pay special attention to showing versus telling. Showing versus telling is one of the writing related issues that never goes out of fashion. My personal theory when it comes to showing versus telling is to try and balance both of them. Honestly, showing versus telling is such a big rabbit hole topic that I might as well need to make another separate video just on showing versus telling. So comment down below and let me know if you want to see a separate video on showing versus telling. Moving on, my next tip is to reconsider where and how you are entering the story. By that, first I mean pay close attention to the tense that you're using, the English tense I'm talking about. Have you been using present tense or past tense for the story? Which perspective have you been using? Have you been using third person, close third person, omniscient narration, or a first person or a second person? There are too many of those. But you need to identify and be clear about which is the one that you have been using and which is the one that you really want to be using for the story. While you're revising, ask yourself, is this the right place, the right scene to start this book? So how do you even decide that this seems like the right place to start a novel or not? Well, first you need to look at what your beta readers said. You need to figure out if readers are finding this as an impactful opening or not. And feel free to try and experiment, do some hit and trial over there. If you have one opening scene, try to actually write down few of those alternative opening scenes that you can think of. Or you can also ask your beta readers to suggest a different opening scene while they're reading your work. Now, after going through the plot charts, your open questions, your characterization, and all of those things that I talked about, if you still feel underconfident about any scenes, any specific chapters of your novel, then all you need to do is look at my ultimate tip, which is to rewrite everything that you don't understand. Writers run away from this tip all the time. Trust me, I was the writer who ran away from rewriting anything. Why would I want to rewrite an entire scene and throw away something that I already have? That's what I always asked myself. Until I joined this MFA program and my professors made me rewrite certain of my pieces. That is when I realized that rewriting can do wonders. With time and experience, I've now realized that rewriting, however time-taking it may be, can change your story, improve your story to exponential levels. Having said all of that and given you all of these tips, I must mention a big disclaimer. That is, all of these tips work very well for self-editing a first draft. However, none of these tips can be termed as or should be termed as proper replacement for professional editing. No matter who you are, a beginner, intermediate, or a best-selling author, you always need a professional editor. That's the bottom line. Alright guys, that is me, Srishti Rathore, signing off. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate that a lot. See you in the next video. Bye bye.